Thanks for coming out and watching the oxymoronic Reddit Professional Show, where I showcase the best and worst of the internet. Here I comment on brilliant and hilarious comment chains regarding dumb shit on the internet for you to enjoy. Make sure to subscribe, hit the little bell button so that you get notifications every time we come up with a new video. Enjoy this week's show.
PSA: Parents with car insurance need to disclose their children as a driver. Otherwise, you will find yourself with no coverage. I'm a CA attorney who represents car insurance companies. I get so many cases called the hidden driver case. Basically, mom and dad gets car insurance but won't mention their son with a license because the premiums would go up. Lo and behold, the son gets into an accident and causes injuries to someone else. Special Investigations Unit and I get involved. That ultimately leads to coverage getting denied due to misrepresentation. We'll just use the recorded statement from years ago and listen to the part about who lives with you or who else drives the car and listen to you not mention your son. Now that family will not have any coverage. They'll have to pay completely out of pocket to fix not only their car but the other person's car. If they get sued, then they'll have to represent themselves or hire an attorney, which would all have been free if they just listed their son on the policy and paid the extra few $100s a month in premiums. Edit: like others are saying, this is only for CA. I don't know if there are different rules for other states. In CA, if the son lives with you and has a license but he is not listed on the policy, then he will not be covered. We call that a material misrepresentation as to the application of the policy, and we will rescind the policy back to the date of the material misrepresentation, which is typically the date you originally got the policy or when you removed/replaced/added a vehicle. You'll get your premiums refunded, but your claim will be denied because it's as if you never had a policy. The denial includes first-party claims like collision/comprehension/rental/towing/uninsured and underinsured, and third-party claims for property damage and bodily injury and the carrier's duty to defend the insurers from third-party lawsuits. But if your son does not live with you and has his own address, then he is treated as a permissive user. A permissive user is essentially anyone driving your car with your permission who is not a regular driver. This includes friends and family. I had someone call and ask why we were investigating his claim, another hidden driver issue. The adjuster had already told him it's because the son was driving who was not listed on the policy. He couldn't understand because his nephew had borrowed the car before and got into an accident, but that was covered. What he did not understand was the nephew was covered as a permissive driver since the nephew did not live with him, but the son was not going to be covered because the son was a hidden driver who lived with him but was not disclosed to the carrier. Ultimately, it comes down to just being honest with your carrier when they ask you about anything. This all depends on the state you are in. If a kid isn't listed, the policy itself gives coverage to family members. The fact the kid isn't listed is a rating/underwriting issue. That said, if it can be proven there was material misrepresentation, coverage for your car may be denied, but three-party coverage would be there. That can also entirely depend on the permissive driver clause on your policy. In some cases, a licensed driver in the household is required to be listed or they are excluded from coverage and would not fall into the permissive category. In Michigan, the Secretary of State, DMV, actually shares household information with our insurance carriers, so the day you walk in with your kid, or a person moves into your home and changes their legal address, the carrier can see everyone that lists your legal address as their home. So if you buy a car and process a change but don't add a driver, the underwriter is likely going to run that household report and notify the agent to reach out. Same here in FL. It pulls up anyone registered to your address and you have to specifically exclude them. This is completely accurate in California. I see it regularly and it's always unfortunate. When I was 17, we had to sign forms specifically excluding me from driving my mom's car. I had my own car with my own insurance, and never ever drove hers. I couldn't anyhow. It was a stick and I was terribly uncoordinated. How can a 17-year-old get their entirely own separate auto insurance policy with no over 18 adult involved? I'm surprised any insurance company would write such a policy, or that any 17-year-old would be able to afford the monster premiums if such a policy were written. My mom called her agent, State Farm. I'm not sure how they worked it out. I was close to 18, and am old AF now, so it's entirely possible my memory is off and I had just turned 18. I truly can't remember when I got that car that I had. I just recall we had to sign affidavits or something stating I was absolutely excluded from driving her car at all, and that we understood that there was no coverage if I were to drive her car. Few carriers will write under 18, but I know that Progressive will, as I have several teens with them. Legally, you can contract for insurance as young as 15 in many states. So what happens if the kid is A, listed as an excluded driver, B, simply not listed on the policy, or C, not even legal driving age/no valid license, and she takes the car, allegedly without permission, and knocks over a light pole? I'm assuming the property damage liability would be denied no matter what, but could a case be made that the damage to the car is a comprehensive case due to the car being stolen? Would it make a difference if the car was reported stolen to the police or not? A more complicated question than you might think. If you claim that the vehicle was taken without permission, the property damage to the vehicle can be covered, but it would generally require you to file a police report and press charges for the theft. E.g., you can't just say, "Welp, my kid took it without permission," get it covered as theft, and not have to pay for the light pole. So if you pressed charges for theft, the physical damages to the vehicle would be covered under comprehensive, and your policy wouldn't be liable for the light pole. Your kid, and maybe yourself, depending on the kid's age and the jurisdiction, would be personally liable for the damage to the light pole, and may also be pursued by the insurance carrier for the damages to the vehicle. In my states and with my carrier, we only count licensed resident relatives when we are reviewing coverage for an unlisted driver. If the kid took the car and did not have a license, we would cover it like normal. The extra few $100s a month in premiums. Can most people really afford that? Well, there goes my night. Just found out I'm poorer than I thought, and I'm screwed when my son learns how to drive. This is why people don't get insurance and are willing to take their chances and play Russian roulette. Because when a new 16-year-old driver gets added to a policy, you are paying roughly $150 more, at least in Ohio, have twins or triplets. You're screwed. Does this happen if the parent is the driver who gets in an accident? A fair question. Potentially, but unlikely. Most common results for an unlisted driver in the house are adding them to, or excluding them from, the policy. If that person was driving during the accident, it can have serious impacts on coverage. If not, they will generally provide coverage for the accident, but underwriting will take a look at the policy to see if they want to keep it for the future, adjust drivers, or just non-renew. Question: in Texas, if that matter. At what point do I notify insurance I have a teen? 14 and IIRC, no temp until 15 years old minimum. Should I do it now, when he has a temp, or wait for full license? Since he is only 14, in Texas he is not at the legal driving age, he does not have to be listed. When he gets to 15, he needs to be listed. However, if you want to save money and if he really will not drive your vehicle, you can have him excluded, but still listed on policy. Obviously, if he's gonna drive a vehicle for even a minute, you need to stop excluding him. Awesome, thank you so much for the information. In my opinion, make sure your insurance company knows about everyone in the household, regardless of age/license. As a passenger in your vehicle, they are covered by your uninsured motorist/medical payments/personal injury protection. Let's say an accident happens, and they are severely injured. Would you prefer to have provided all their information to an agent as a nice, informal conversation, or to the adjuster when they are fighting for their life in the hospital? My adult, 25-year-old son is currently living with us in Oregon because of COVID, though he does have an apartment in San Diego that he pays for. He has a valid California driver's license but did not have a car in California, so no auto insurance. He came back up in March because we're in a low-density area and his apartment is in a high-density area, and now continuing to stay because Oregon infection rates vs California's. Does he need to be added to our policy? Note he's been here a few months already and has only driven once. He does not like to drive. Yes, I would mention it. I know that most companies are very clear if you have a relative of any age living with you for a period of time. They should be added. If he was just visiting for a couple of weeks, that would be different. I work with non-standard policies and see this way too often as well. It always gets sent to the coverage unit and ultimately the INSD gets sent a ROR for MMR. Should there be other MMR factors, it would be included. If we send it to UW for a re-rate and the premium increases a certain percentage, it becomes a rescission of the policy due to material misrep and coverage denial to third part, IES. It's sad especially when the INSD's attorney gets dropped and the INSD is left to flail helplessly because the fact of the matter is that the INSD doesn't have valid coverage from us because they didn't want their premium to increase. Where I'm at, we have an exclusion. So I live with my fiancé but we do not share insurance. Somehow the insurance agency got a hold of that info and we each had to sign specific exclusions on the insurance policy. If I drive her car and get into an accident, nothing from her insurance company would cover anything. It was kind of annoying, but I totally understand. Limit liability and all. And make sure when you do get married to more all of your info together to her or to yours. Do not keep them separate. Just another can of worms if there is any claim. If you register your car's or driver's license to the same address, then our systems, at least for the company I'm with, will pick that up. I'm an insurance agent, licensed in all 50 states. Every state requires the parents to notify their insurance company. All insurance companies have clauses defining hidden drivers. Best way to help yourselves as parents. If you bought the car and you drive the car occasionally, your child uses the car for school and / or a part-time job, list the child as a part-time driver. They don't own the car, they don't pay for the insurance, they only use the car for your convenience. If they get into trouble, they are grounded from the car. So, legally, they are a part-time driver.
If you enjoyed this week's effective way to waste time, hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this. If you are enjoying the series, leave me a comment below. A special shout out to the content creators. You frickin' rock.